Hi, my friends. We're going to talk about what happens when, as an intuitive, you let go of expectations. This is so important. There's a lot of people out there that struggle with expectations around intuition. And they also struggle with, and I'm relating this to myself, getting answers around these intuitive signs and messages and things that are happening to them. So I want to help you. I want to let you know, let you all know about an experience that a student of mine had, and this was a while back, about her grandmother and how she found out that um, she was one of her guides. And this is not uncommon. My own grandmother is one of my guides. So after she discovered this about her grandmother, I suggested she go to a special place for her and her grandmother and connect with her there. And it was going well until it wasn't. And so she went there and all it was well until all of a sudden she started having thoughts that she described weren't her own thoughts. They were very, very negative thoughts about towards her grandmother. And she immediately pulled out and was like, oh gosh, what just happened? And she immediately thought she had an attachment, but she never had one before. So she didn't know how it felt like. Um, so if you're going to go to connect with your grandmother or whomever, and all of a sudden you start having this kind of different thoughts that are really lining up with your normal thinking pattern, this is definitely a sign of getting an attachment. Perhaps there's spirits attached to you, kind of going along with your day to day with you. Some that happens when you get an attachment. Sometimes those spirits are kind of part of your day to day, right? But maybe you're not feeling like yourself. Um, your thoughts are not your thoughts, like the way that they were before, or that you generally would have in this case, because they were all surrounded in anger towards her grandmother, like saying very ugly things towards her. And so she pulled out of that, but felt really uncomfortable. And although life was busy for her, the universe was like, we're gonna give you more attention to this. Okay. So one day her husband and her were driving up to Vegas and they were listening to this podcast about a serial killer in the area that she calls home, in California. And she told me that there was a four-part series, and it got to the second set of victims of this person, and it was in the park where she went to meet with her grandmother. Um, it was the part where she picked up the attachment. So spiritual attachments can be attached to you for a period of time, and the effects of it can kind of come and go. So you may feel fine for a few days, and then something triggers some symptoms. Okay. Uh, but she was having these thoughts of anger and rage, things that towards people that she normally wouldn't have. And it was not in character, but also not bad enough to really bring it up sharply to her attention. So there will be spikes. And she said that the more that she tried to fight them, the louder they got. So she knew at some point after several days that she needed to do something about it. There was something that she needed to pay attention to. So she got together with a friend of mine a friend of hers, who was another intuitive. And she did a clearing for her. And let me tell you something, it doesn't matter how strong of an intuitive you are or somebody is, when you get an attachment, sometimes you don't see it. So she kind of knew, but it was like muted. It was, she said it was strange because she kind of knew, but at the same time, it wasn't bothering her so much that she kind of let it go until it really bothered her. So she went to the other practitioner, and the other practitioner successfully does the clearing, and my student could then see the female spirit who was attached to her in the room where they were doing the clearing. And the other practitioner, the other girl, was like, I gotta tell you this, I gotta tell you about this attachment. And she was like, no, you don't. I know exactly who she is. And it was one of those times that just a puzzle piece falls into place and then you can see the big picture. And she was like, no, you don't have to tell me. I know exactly who she is. Um, and she told me she was so confident in that moment with that, just like it was kind of overwhelming too, that she could not believe that that happened. She was the person who had attached to her was one of the victims of this serial killer. So then she went on the computer, as one does, and see what she could find out. And then the first like things that happened is she found out three things, which were incredible coincidences, right? Coincidences. The first day she heard the podcast would have been that victim's birthday. The day she found, there was part of the story, I didn't want to give you the details. She found a picture of her grandmother. That was the anniversary of the day that her grandmother had passed. Okay. And the victim that was attached to her was buried in the same cemetery as her grandmother. So with those pieces of information, it's like beyond doubt, right? Beyond any kind of reasonable doubt. This is not coincidence. It's one of those moments as an intuitive, it's just, it hits you. This is far too aligned to be chance. The numbers for this to be a chance are astronomical, right? This is no chance. This is no coincidence. After this, she got obsessed with figuring it out, why that had happened, why her, why that time, why was she somehow connected to this serial killer? She has so many questions. Why, right? So she pushed and she pushed and she pushed and she pushed to go home to California, to figure some things out, to talk to people, to do this, to do that. And, at that moment that she got so obsessed and was pushing so hard to figure everything out, she got so many blocks, so many, just all kinds of things started to happen because she was pushing so hard. I mean, like planes canceled, plane flights canceled, and her job wouldn't give her vacation when they never had said no before. Her husband got sick at the last minute of them traveling. I mean, all kinds of things. And then she realized know why this happened every time I turn on the camera. And she realized what she was doing and just let it go. Okay, let it go. So it's not that she didn't care anymore, not at all, no by any stretch of the imagination, but she let it unfold naturally. And this is exactly what we're trying to talk about today. And this is, well, this is a very good story to picture this, right? To make a point, but this is important for any part of our lives, right? But especially in something intuitive. You know, the best piece of advice ever is enjoy the ride. Let it enjoy it. Because when you have that joy and curiosity and interest instead of struggle, you're raising your vibration and then opening up to more that can come through.